Welcome to Treb Talk. This is Treb. Good to see you again. I know it's been a while. I didn't get online because I actually got what do you call it? My first strike from YouTube. It's crazy, right? So I want to keep this going. I don't need to let a first strike or one strike or three strikes to take me away from what I like to do. And that's just to talk to you. Well, all right. So let's talk about the hurricane. And this is we've had two hurricanes. We had the Hurricane Helene and then Hurricane Milton that just happened. And right now it's Friday. Hurricane Milton landed on Wednesday, and then Helene was about a week and a half ago. And I was really upset because we had funds that were supposed to go to FEMA, and they did not get to the people that needed those funds. Our vice president went on air, and she said that we are giving $750 per hurricane victim for Hurricane Helene. Well, that's not a lot. I don't know what you can do with $750, but knowing that we're sending more money to migrants and more money to the Ukraine and other countries, I believe some of that funding has been taken from FEMA and to supply those for those who come here illegally. And that really upsets me, and it should upset everyone, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, because our country should come first. Our people should come first. And that's not the case right now. So I've been to Asheville, North Carolina, and it's a beautiful city. I was there about 3 years ago, and I got to eat in one of the restaurants there. I can't even remember what the restaurant was, but I do remember that there were several restaurants, kind of like a hipster town, I guess, if you want to call it, and which is fine because, hipster towns are fun. And so it had that little hipster vibe to it, and it was old, rustic, and just a really cool little town. And I'm really saddened that it's completely devastated. Now, let's talk about Hurricane Milton. Well, first of all, going back to Hurricane Helene, those people are dealing with a lot of stress right now. They're struggling. And I know there's people out there that are helping them out. I know that probably our government is helping, but I don't know how much they are because you don't really hear anything going on in regards to our government. So it's making me very, suspicious because we did have the leader of FEMA speak and say that they are out of funds in regards to another hurricane. So they only had enough for this hurricane, which wasn't much at all. And then now Hurricane Milton hit, and now they are pretty much running out of funds. And hopefully there will be more coming their way. But it's something that we have to think about as a country. We're noticing that our government, unfortunately, is focusing more on other people from other countries, and than their own people. And I don't know why. I have my suspicions. We do have an election coming up. And when you have a bunch of people coming in from other countries, crossing our border, they don't even need an ID at some of these states. They don't even require an ID. So they can actually vote. I think that's really strange because you should be a U.S. citizen before you can vote. Am I wrong? Did I miss something? Because I remember the first time I voted, I had to show I think it was 2 or 3 different forms of identification. The last time I voted, I didn't need to see anything. I just said my name, and that was it. I didn't have to show them my address or nothing. So that makes it easier for people to vote that probably shouldn't be voting. And I'm worried about that. So one of these things, and one of the reasons why I think that these people are coming in, and they're allowing these people to come in so that they can get their votes. We have an election coming up, and it's a pretty big one. And we'll see what happens during those elections. Hopefully there is no foul play. Hopefully everything is done the right way. Anyways, going back to the hurricane. Now, a lot of people are talking about global warming or climate change. Now, I believe in climate change because climate does change all the time. It does have shifts. It changes. Global warming, I don't know what I think about global warming because if the planet is warmer than it was, then it's probably going to change again and get cooler eventually. I don't know if it's gradually getting warmer because I don't even know if scientists really know that. There's a lot of arguments back and forth. But we can all agree that there's climate change. And climate has changed. It's different than it was when I was growing up. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's just we see things shifting. So, like, for instance, I remember when I was in high school, or actually, we'll go back even farther than that, elementary school. I remember when March would hit, I would know that March would hit because things were starting to melt. Because we had snow on the ground. And the sun would come out, and it'd actually start feeling like spring. It's almost like an overnight thing, overday, like it happened a couple days or so. Now it kind of is like gradual. It's more gradual that we get a springtime. And we get a lot of, they call them Indian summers because they're summers that last until November, sometimes in December. But let's go back to the hurricane. It's kind of going on a tangent there, but let's go back to the hurricane. Well, in 1924, so 100 years ago, there was a hurricane that hit Florida, and that was called Hurricane 10, nicknamed the 1924 Cuba hurricane. So Cuba had a hurricane. It was a Category 5, pretty much wiped out the entire western side of Cuba. And then that hurricane drifted over towards Florida and it ended up being a Category 1 hurricane. Now, we know that Category 1s are not as dangerous as a Category 5. However, this was 1924, so things are a little bit different. A lot of times they didn't have much of a warning. So they did lose a lot of people. There was 90 fatalities. 90 people died as a result of a Category 1 hurricane. I didn't know that. I did know that there was a hurricane that happened 100 years ago, but I just found out that there was a pretty significant loss of life during that hurricane. Well, that gives you an idea. Do you think global warming was happening back then? Or climate change, or whatever you want to call it? Do you think they were worried about it? Did they even talk about that kind of thing? Like I said, things change. Sometimes hurricanes don't last. They'll hit one area and won't hit again for another 100 years. If they were hitting really drastically every single year, then I would say, yeah, we have a problem with climate. But it hasn't been the case. We get hurricanes all the time. It's a common thing because it just is. And most of the time, these hurricanes are not as devastating. They turn into tornadoes, and people are usually able to prepare for those things. But you come across some big ones once in a while, and we had a big one. We had 2 big ones. So anyways, just keep those people in your prayers. Keep them in your thoughts. And just remember, we need to really focus on the American people first. And I hope these people are being taken care of. And if they're not being taken care of by our government, I hope there are people out there like churches and that type of thing taking care of him. I would love to go out there. I cannot because I got some personal things going on that I have to stay here. But I would love to go out there and help. And especially now because I don't have a job. So I have the time. But that's all I want to really say about that. Think about it. Talk to your friends, your family. Discuss about the hurricane. Discuss what's going on, what the importance is of the American people. This should help you have a better understanding of who we need to vote for and really focus on who needs to have those votes to run this country. And we need our country back again. Well, anyways, have a good day. I hope it wasn't too devastating to talk about this, but It need to be talked about. We need to talk about these things all the time. We need to discuss them. It's good too. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later.